I know I've seen a trailer of Phoenix Rage before, but I cannot recall what this game is in my mind's eye right now.
Yeah.
Explain to me the Rage of the Phoenix.
Yeah, I think probably the closest thing to compare it to might be like a Super Meat Boy. Like it's platformer, but it's like all about like really hard courses and like you have like this unlimited jump. So you keep making the Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird.
The unlimited jump, and then like a side dash. But like a lot of the courses are laid out towards just like very like specific gaps that you have to get through, so you can barely fit through a lot of the gaps. And they showed us one of the things, like if you get through like really fast, like certain places have like a red collectible pickup where you unlock like these like Atari looking stages, which is basically what they used as test stages. So it's like you basically have a bunch of squares, so it's like just basically just hit boxes that you're playing around with. But it's just 3 guys in Costa Rica. They've got like a programmer, an artist, and a sound designer.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Right? So what were the conditions that you guys checked this game out in? You went over and...
Yeah, we just went over to a hotel room where they brought the game to show it off, and Hubert played most of it while I was kind of managing the recording and stuff.
So you say Flappy Bird and you smile at the same time.
Yeah.
Here. So is that a good influence? Is that a type of game that needs to be developed upon?
Well, I'm not big into Flappy Bird, but just the unlimited jumping and trying to manage the perfect height while you have enemies attacking from above and below. There are these blobs that move to a certain rhythm. So there'll be some above you just going back and forth. And you'll have this much room to hover between and kind of just wait there to make your move up or down depending on where you're going. So it just has a sense of tension constantly.
This is also the perfect Jeremy Hoffman game. I tweeted at him already. Because there are extra like collectibles in each stage that are cookies. But it's not like just a cookie icon, because after you've completed the level and you go into the menu, one of the guy's sisters or something is a
sister-in-law.
baker. So like they actually have the recipes. They actually came up with recipes for all these cookies. So
I'm not
you could
gonna
actually
lie.
make these cookies afterwards.
I felt uncomfortable, but I really wanted to like take a picture of some recipes, but I didn't because they look really good.
Headline: recipes leaked from Phoenix Rage. Not something I would expect from a game like Phoenix Rage, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but then there, I don't use these words, but maybe you can use the words for what happens. Like once you get to a certain level of frustration with a level, like if you keep trying to get the cookie every time and then you die.
Oh yeah, their motto is you'll get to a fuck the cookie stage, because every time you get the cookie and you die, you restart at the beginning and then you have to get the cookie again. So you're dying a lot in this game, over and over and over. I think Blood died on that one boss like 30 times.
Right.
So
No cookie for you, Blood.
Right.
So eventually, you'll get the cookie, you'll die 30 times, and you'll be like, all right, I'm just going for the end. So, but there's a lot of the escalation of difficulty is really good from what we saw. Just it starts you out pretty simple, go through a really easy course, slide through here, you're there. Double jump or a unlimited jump up, you're there, and then all of a sudden they'll start throwing enemies in. They'll start throwing in different mechanics to the game. There's fire on the wall sometimes, and then when you slide down the fire, you become on fire, and that's the only way to charge through ice. And then there were
like,
shark creatures
yes.
that they didn't show us.
Now I remember this game. Yeah, it kind of claustrophobic. Some of the levels, there is a very specific pattern that you're supposed to take through some of these areas.
They actually have like hummingbirds floating around that are like kind of hints as to where you should
We
go.
mentioned Super Meat Boy, and Super Meat Boy was like very small character, very wide, big environments, and it was just making these gigantic, leaps of faith. Whereas, this one, from what I saw, it looked kind of cramped. It looked like there were a lot more like left and right, back and forth traveling.
Some of the environments
a lot of
were
threading
pretty
the
open.
needle. Yeah. There's like teleports in some areas, so like sometimes it's like you teleport like back and forth a bunch of times. So if you just hold left, you'll get to where you're supposed to go. It's kind of funny.
And the variety to the levels, and there's 200 stages, and when you beat that, you unlock a challenge mode for every stage where you can only use a certain amount of jumps and dashes. They figured out the bare minimum you can use. Then when you beat all those, you unlock God mode, where instead of getting to the end of the level, you have to destroy all the enemies in a certain amount of time.
Yeah, so you become invincible, but then you have a time limit to kill all the enemies.
So there's just
I'm not sure like if you got the progression on those right, but yeah, definitely like all of those different modes in there.
Yeah. And then bosses too.
We played it for probably like an hour or something like that, just beating our heads against the wall at some points, especially with the bosses.
So difficult but rewarding. I mean, that's like a fine line, to dabble in, like doing something where
It
it's just like,
feels-
this is just too frustrating.
It felt so fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, the game isn't cheaping you up. It's, I failed, I can do it. It's constantly, I can do it. I can do it this time. I can do it this time.
The art style is interesting because they said they were inspired by like SWAT cats of all things, and then I think really hard and like, oh yeah, that was a thing that existed, and like the very one image in my mind that I can remember of that show, it was like, yeah, I see that. It's so funny.
I can recall Phoenix Rage now that you've explained it, but SWAT Cats,
And there's a brief
I'm not gonna
story
be
that
there.
ties it all together. A couple
Yeah, I was going to
little-
say, how do cookies
little
factor into the
cinematics.
story?
They didn't tell us. I
They said that
asked.
there's a payoff.
Yeah.
That there's some way that they explain the cookies.
I was like, why cookies? And he said, we don't want to spoil it, but there's a reason for the cookies.
And why it's not Phoenix like Phoenix Down Phoenix, it's Marcus Phoenix, right?
F-E-N-I-X,
And they said they got the rage from because he's pissed off that it's the end of the world, and you're pissed off
Because
that
you
you're
can't
dying a
beat
lot.
how many, yeah.
Yeah. And
We
well,
want you to rage, just not rage
the one
quit.
thing with the story too is that it was almost as if they were spoiling it a little bit by the way they explained it, because it's like you see the whole world's been torn up, and then this guy, you see him and you think he's the one responsible, but it's like they didn't see that it was the one responsible. So it's almost like they're intentionally letting you know that they're leading you on to something that's probably not the actual case. The one thing. I wish they had a controller that had a really good D-pad, because using the 360 controller, I was like,
Yeah.
I need something more precise than this analog stick right now. It was just really, really tight spots to get through, and I was having a hard time with that.
Interesting that they would show up with that they would focus
That's
on
the kind
that.
of the standard PC controller now,
Yeah.
for better and for worse. So
Did you have issues with that?
I used the joystick.
yeah, that's what I was using too. But yeah, I felt like I wanted something a little bit tighter.
But you didn't really get up to like the later levels, the
We
crazy
saw
levels.
some later levels. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think we went through like the whole first world or something, and then a little bit of the second, and then they kind of skipped around a bit.
I definitely remember looking at the trailers and there were a lot of gameplay shots that was like, that looks crazy. I have no idea what he just did. Like
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
You're talking about like picking up the different power ups and then using those to get through certain areas.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure
those,
there's a rhyme or
those-
reason to that.
Those
but-
timed pickups too, like I just don't even know. I don't know how you're supposed to get through there that fast.
Yeah.
So
Were you looking forward to seeing this, Huber?
Yeah,
He
I
was,
saw
yeah.
the trailer. I said, no, that looks pretty cool. I like the art style.
Huber's why we
And
went to this thing.
I like platforming games. So yeah.
And this is right up your alley. When are we going to get our hands on this?
Oh, I think it comes out later this year.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, I think it's not too far off.
And we've seen enough of this game. There's probably not going to be any more. So you were talking about other fun game modes and stuff like that. Probably not.
Yeah, I
any
feel
more
like-
I forgot about
announcements.
that too. There were extra game modes. The soccer ball.
Yeah, there's a soccer ball.
There's just a
thing
ton
it.
in this
Yeah.
game. So
Cookies and soccer balls.
yeah.
I'm finished, man. Yeah, the whole cookie thing. I need some closure on that. So if you get more, if you
We've
can
got
sneak some
shots of like the
information out.
recipes and everything, so for sure.
Cookie
Yeah,
lore.
don't hesitate to take pictures of cookie recipes, man. I mean,
I know I wanted to. I felt awkward.
inquiring minds want to know why you guys didn't bring cookies to this conversation is beyond me. But maybe next time. Thanks, guys.